Hey, it's Isar from the Business Growth Accelerator, and this is the 100th episode of the show. And to celebrate it, I'm going to cover the 5 most impactful growth strategies I've learned from interviewing 100 successful entrepreneurs.
Brilliant.
The way I kind of look at it, I think some people hear systems and they think very robotic and process and very cold and informal and all that kind of stuff. I look at it in a different way. It's kind of like, how can I spread the value that I can offer someone, and how can I get them to know me, trust me, and understand the value that I can bring them, and then do that at a level where it's not me doing it all the time, every single time, but so they can feel like I'm guiding them through a journey with them, and at every point I'm there when they need it. So I apply that to everything, whether it's my own marketing, whether it's my sales process, whether it's the guest preparation process that I put everybody through on my own podcast. I'm a believer that my role as a podcast host is to make the guest look and sound amazing. And so even if somebody has been on, 100 different podcasts, I will give them, a guide and a set of videos that will walk them through exactly what to do. So educate them about the audience of the podcast. And I find a lot of people, certainly the ones that have not necessarily been on many shows, they're like, that was so helpful. I now feel like I know you for a start. And, it's people turn up comfortable. And I apply that to sales calls. Before people come onto sales calls, there is the same sort of process. It's relationships. So by the point that you're having a conversation, there's no awkwardness. It's like, hey, how you doing? I call this whole process your conversion hook, and it's part of my overall sort of system for how to sort of maximize the growth of particularly a service-based business where you actually have to talk to people, and it's about expertise and providing value and all the rest of it. And I call it your conversion hook because at the end of the day, we all know that when we're going to get on a sales call, it's about a sale, right? So rather than a lot of the time people thinking, right, okay, I'm going to dress it up as a strategy kind of thing, it's like, no, we are going to provide you a valuable outcome of this call, whether or not you become a client or not. So it's about finding a result that you can deliver to someone first and foremost. And that is the reason that they're having the call. But you are also very upfront that if it makes sense that we, talk about working together, but there is something in it for them as a result. For example, what I have now is I have an entire process where I will uncover hidden revenue within a business. And in 30 minutes, I will generally find you at least 50,000 of hidden revenue and tell you the 3 things to do to maximize the opportunities to actually pick that revenue out of your business. So that's something there that is automatically a kind of a hook. And it's like, right, this is something I want to sort of know and see if I can apply to my business. And then the process that then goes through, it's like a guiding and it's a qualifying, and it's always pre-selling and pre-qualifying, and also qualifying out the people that this isn't going to work for, so that I'm being respectful, both of the people that I can't help at this point and being very honest and saying through the system, this is who I can help, this is who I can't help. And then in that process, you then have a system that you have been through a number of times where you get to ask the right questions, you get to find out the right information about whether or not you can help someone, and then you can make the recommendations based on that individual, but it's systemized. Like it's something that you do all the time, every time. And just by having that, and if you think, right, it's about systemizing relationships, it's about adding value. And what that ultimately does is it increases the effectiveness of your sales process and your sales system. And it means that you end up speaking to people. I mean, this is just from the sales perspective. I mean, there's many other systems that will go involved with it, but ultimately it's about being very, very efficient and respectful of each person that you're talking to, but done in a systemized way that you can deliver that kind of value without you having to do it yourself every single time, so that you are really only dealing with that last sort of 5%, that rapport building, that is this right for you? Let's answer some questions, that kind of thing, because you've built that relationship before that point. And the last point to sort of say on it is, if that still doesn't necessarily make sense, it's something that you said earlier. We all feel that we have a relationship with people that are on stages. Whenever, you know, somebody in the public eye, media, if they die, for example, when there's a public outpouring of emotion and all the rest of it, most of us have never met that person, but there is a connection there. It's essentially the same sort of thing. You are creating a relationship with someone before they get to meet you, so that they feel a connection. And you can do that without ever meeting anyone, and you can do it through systems and process and all the rest of it.
I think most people arrive to this journey using the podcast as the original stage. I arrived to this journey using an actual stage as my stage, and an actual community as the leverage point of why I could have a stage, because I had people to do it. So as we were iterating through this stuff, and I started trying to sell people community, because that's what I want to sell, that is what I think the ultimate goal is, I realized that everybody wants community. Everybody sees the value in an ultimate referral source and the social validation and all this other stuff. But most companies don't have the resources to devote an entire initiative and an entire budget line to community. So you had to deliver community en route while you are delivering all these other short-term goals. And that's why the content creation piece and the podcast came into it. But it was never just a podcast. It was always, hey, you can host a weekly event that then becomes a podcast, that then becomes a YouTube show, that then becomes multiple different stages. And that piece took me about a year to really get to, until we found JWB. Once Greg from JWB gave me the shot of implementing this, that's when it really started popping. Because like you said, that's when I started implementing this in the heart of a $150 million company. And that's how we got here, right?
Why live? Right? We're in a podcast, right? Well, we're doing it live, but this is a podcast. So a lot of people now kind of like figured out the podcast side of it. Why live?
It's because of what you said, Isar. It's that ability to take it from just this one-to-one relationship building content creation and nothing in between, to the one-to-many, where you are just broadcasting everything and communicating asynchronously, and include more people into this, right? The 12 people that are with us right now on this call, they are spending an hour with you. You are spending 1 hour with 12 of them, right? So that economics of that really, really starts to exaggerate and exacerbate your ability to build more intimate relationships, more so than, I very much believe what Adam was saying, right? Like this idea that I feel like I'm friends with Kurt Cobain because I listen to Nirvana records in my ear. Same thing happens with Lewis Howes. Same thing happens with Gary Vee when I'm listening to their podcast. But if I can show up and every once in a while, like Jen is doing right now, she can put in a comment and say yes. And I'll be like, yeah, Jen, yes, right? And feel like you know us, right? She's saying that she feels like she knows us, and Jen does know us, right? But she's building rapport with us right now as she's here, because we get to interact with them. So that one to few interaction allows you to build the relationships quicker, right? Like you are just making a more efficient way of building more relationships. And it also increases the feedback loop, right? Like the idea of releasing content into the wild and waiting for someone to comment on your Instagram is way slower than the idea of somebody on here right now that says, oh, but wait a minute, what about this? And then you can immediately clarify and you can immediately iterate.
Community is the strongest power around probably anything of the human race. If you go back to, okay, we lived in tribes and helped each other, and on your own you couldn't survive, and you run this through history. But in today's era where everything is digital, people seek the relationship. And if you can do relationships better than other people, and to summarize kind of like the relationship that a live event allows you to do is one-to-one with the person that, like Pablo and I right now are interviewing, one to few, like I'm talking to each and every one of you in the audience right now, and one to many, because this content is going to be out there as a podcast. It's going to be out there on social media. It's going to be out there on YouTube, where hundreds or thousands or hundreds of thousands of people can engage with it over time. And all I spent is 1 hour. So that's the trick of the live and the way to build community, because all the content that we're putting out is always, and you should put out, is always should be valuable to the audience that is watching it, or that is listening to it, or reading it, whatever, however they're consuming it. I want to hear your side of things on how you create that amazing environment that really enables people to thrive and feel that they will do anything for the company.
I would say that from very early in the game, I realized that a leader needs to do, in the business world, needs to do five major things. The first thing you need to do is to serve the people that work with you. And so I want to make sure that people understand it and people understand I'm serving them, meaning I need to know what's going on with them as much as they want to share. I need to make sure that they're happy in their workplace, their life. I need to make sure that they are comfortable, that they are not stressed. Serve the people that work with you. It's so important. They're really looking for that. The second thing is teach. Teach everything that you know. So many people, leaders that know so much and they are afraid to teach other people so they will kind of be better than them down the road. The third thing is to direct. Direct exactly the things that you want people to do for the organization and for themselves. There is a success to see. Be precise, give time and exact directives. Make sure that people understand it. The fourth thing is control, means after you direct it, make sure that on the right time when you discuss the time, there are results. And number five is make sure that you always have a number two, because number two will be the person that will push you to the next level. And with all that, when you think about it, when you treat people like that and people treating you just in return the same way,